Hey, Pete.
Hey, man.
I just wrote this. Check it out.
Okay. Rachmaninoff.
I'm Adam Maness.
And I'm Peter Martin.
And you're listening to the You'll Hear podcast.
Daily jazz advice coming at you.
Caught again, totally ripping off Rachmaninoff.
In your web of lies.
Yeah.
Well, no, but did you know my response? Rachmaninoff? I wasn't even sure if that's what it was, but you know what that's a reference to?
What?
Willy Wonka.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
She just plays the thing, and then she says, Rachmaninoff, when they're going through the teeny little hallway.
I feel terrible even
very
just
sassy.
mentioning rock. Like, I didn't play the right voicings or anything. I
It
just
was kind of like a New
faked
Orleans dirge
Yeah,
version
I know.
of Rachmaninoff.
It wasn't really Rachmaninoff.
I heard a couple of days ago, what is today? Yeah, 2 days ago, I heard the Brahms, speaking of Rachmaninoff, a classical composer, the Brahms Second Symphony, a beautiful version of the St. Louis Symphony.
It's an amazing piece.
It's an amazing piece.
Yeah.
They really killed it. It was nice.
St. Louis Symphony is world class. If
They are-
y'all don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not in the way that we say the You'll Hear It podcast is world class. We mean truly. Well, no, I guess we are worldwide as well.
Yeah, I mean, as far as daily jazz podcasts go.
They're more like world classy. We're just world class. Oh no, maybe we're world class.
We're world asses? Is that...
Beep.
Andrew can't be. You should beep out that just because of how annoying it was. Yeah, put some Charlie Parker or something on that.
That's
please.
right.
Okay.
All right. So what do we have today? We have another question. We've been having having a bunch of questions, which we always get.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we did ignore it for about 2 weeks.
No, but these
It's
are all
good.
like within the last couple of days too, though. Pretty much, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they actually are. Yeah,
And they're all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have one here from John, and
Why you say it like that, John?
well, just John just sent us a message. No, it's his name's John.
Oh, because the last couple of days we've had European names, so you've been more excited by that.
Now
So
hold
you
on.
feel like
Now
John
Kevin
is-
was French, but his name's Kevin.
Yeah, that's true. And hoy.
I can't say that.
Okay, so John,
Yeah, here we
let's
go.
check it out.
Greetings, Maestro Martin and Maness. This is John from California. I have a question about sources of inspiration for composing music. As far as your experience of composing your own music, is it as simple as you're just jamming and trying to come up with some cool sounding music? Or is it deeper than that, where you're trying to convey some kind of meaning or message or story, lost love or some kind of spiritual idea or something? Does music ever come to you in dreams? I think of the latest Brad Meldau album where the
Meldau.
melody for the title track came to him in a dream. Has something like that ever happened to you guys? Just curious what your thoughts are on that. Thank you very much.
That's a great question, John, and kind of a complicated answer. And by the way, the new Brad Meldau record, Seymour Reads the Constitution, is fantastic. And
Yes.
that tune that he got out of a dream. He had a dream that Philip Seymour Hoffman was reading him the United States Constitution, and there was a melody going on in the background, and he got up and he wrote it out, and that became the impetus for the record.
Yes.
And it's awesome.
Yep.
And
Has that ever happened to you?
I actually
Melodies in the
have.
dreams?
I've dreamed some. I don't know if I've dreamed melodies, but I've dreamed some sounds or some maybe changes. It's happened a couple of times where I woke up and like, what is that? I gotta figure that out.
Yeah.
And you know what? I always think of it like it's just a different. We absorb all this music all day, every day, and like it's somewhere somewhere it reaches us and we remember it somehow, and sometimes it comes out in the subconscious. That's all I can think of.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's a few times I actually keep a little pad, a little notational scribe, music paper, basically, by my bedside.
I thought it was like a leather bound, like a notational and a quill,
with a pad,
jar of ink.
Yeah, and I do because I don't know if I've really dream them or it's like I wake up and I'm hearing them, but a lot of times if I'm playing a lot of music the day before, especially the night before, or listening to something, sometimes I've woken up and with some incredible stuff only to realize it was something somebody else wrote that I was playing the previous day, like a little part of it.
Totally.
But
I mean, the nightmare when you're writing a lot of music is actually you do go to bed like with that music you've been writing all day in your head.
Yes.
For me, that is the worst.
Yeah.
Because all I want to do when I go to bed is not listen to that music in my head anymore. Because you're playing it over and over and over again as you write it. You know
but
what
I
mean?
have found that some things that I couldn't quite solve in something that I was writing or arranging, just sleeping sometimes when I wake up
Yeah.
and I go back to the piano or go back to the paper and I'm like, oh yeah, this is so, like when you get stuck, I always think it's good to sleep or walk or something. And I think with composing, it's funny because, when you're composing, in theory, you can just write anything.
Yeah.
But I think the more experience you have in doing it, the more you do it, the more skillful you get at it, you start to actually have less options in a way. Like when you first start, it's a clean slate.
You have no idea what your thing is.
You have no idea. But I mean, even like now, like if you're going to write, it can be anything, which is great. But once you start down a path, I feel like you're kind of required to continue down that path. Now, there's many different ways. I think about it like you're going from point A to point B on a hike. And there's the regular, you make a decision to go down this trail. And that's your first melody. It's your first chord. It's your whatever it is. And then you need to get to the destination, which is the end. But how you get there, you can veer off the path. There's many different ways to do it. You can even end up going to another destination. But you have to continue on. You can't just randomly jump around.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, but then you're going to have this kind of, hodgepodge or mushy kind of piece that doesn't make any sense.
Well, this leads into what I was going to lead in with this, which is, to answer John in a simple way. There's good news and bad news. The good news is that sort of random pull it from the universe inspiration will always exist in your composition.
Yeah.
In a sense. And then, but as you get better and you do more and more, it becomes like 95% craft.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Cabinet making, where you take that.
Yeah.
And for me, as we talk about, setting off on this path, you have a spark of inspiration, or you're just, maybe you're jamming at the piano, as John said, and you find an idea. To me, the fleshing it out with the craft that I've learned, how to do that becomes part of it. Tricks of the trade. And then I think, just like in my improvising life, the constant fight of trying to grow and not do what I've done before is part of it too. It's a little trickier in composition because usually, for my composition and arranging, which I consider a form of composition,
sure.
I'm usually working for someone else.
Yeah.
Most of the time I'm commissioned to do something that I have to get done at a certain amount of time, and so I have to fight what I expect out of myself, try to push myself, but stay within the confines of whatever commission I'm working on.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a commission, or if you're writing for film or TV or for anything where there's like a deadline, that pretty much wipes out let me wait till the universe lines up and hands me this beautiful melody in the middle of the night.
You got to get it done.
Yeah.
And that takes, like a craftsmanship that needs to
But
be
I think
applied.
that they can work together in terms of then when you have the opportunity to do, and you've got some great arrangements and some great original compositions as well. And I wonder if, the times when you have to force through for the gig, for the job, then helps you once you get the inspiration. When you're not on a deadline, it's for you. It's like, okay, I want to write something for my next record, but I don't have to do it right now. But then at a certain point, you've got the idea, then it's like you got to execute it. There's that other 95%. Because for me, I find and I remember it was so hard. I was always writing a lot. And I would just say that as opposed to number one, listen, to compose, to get better, compose.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as simple as
number
that.
two.
Yeah. To get stronger, lift weights.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can do the right ones at the right temperature, that's even better. But I mean, basically, you just got to do it.
Yep.
Because the experience level, you are going to, there is something, I think, that anybody with any kind of musical sensitivity, which basically is every human that's ever born, until the world kind of wipes it out of us,
Yep.
If you're lucky enough not to have your musicality and your sensitivity and your artistic flair pulled from you, and you get any kind of skill as a composer or in music where you can actually do something in music, not just listen to it, everybody has something to say. Unique.
Yep.
Not everybody's Beethoven, but it doesn't. Thank God that not everybody's Beethoven.
But it takes experience, and what we mean by when we say things like craftsmanship and experience and doing it like this is that I know if I give Peter 2 musical ideas, right? If I give you 2 themes, you could probably come up with about 20 minutes on those 2 different themes, composing it out, because you know how to work a theme very different ways, whether that's put it in a groove or a bass line or change the key or change the tempo, or the same thing with me. You have to, just like as an improviser, we strive for economy in our ideas, taking themes and developing them through our solo. It's the same thing with composition. My goal is to get the most out of the little. so I can
Most money for the least amount of work, right?
exactly.
Oh,
So
no, sorry.
like I don't. For me, music isn't compelling that I'm just trying to compose every single beat of every single bar completely out of the
Right.
universe. Just
We're
like,
very rarely paid by the note.
it just it doesn't make for compelling music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I want to hear how once I've established the theme, now you have color and context that you
Yeah.
can add to it, whether that's harmony or rhythm,
Yeah.
and you can take that through so many places. That why not explore those things?
Well, and it's very similar, I think, to trying to progress as an improviser. I look at them as very they're different endeavors because of the function of them,
Hand in hand, though.
But the mindset and the musical skills and the actual functionality of how you go about it, hand in hand.
Yeah.
Improvising and composing, it's just spontaneous improvisation. But if you get there and composition where you're writing it out, others are performing it, or you're performing it, But the thing about it is, like, if you get this kind of mentality that one idea for each piece or movement or section, however you want to break it down, all you need is one good idea.
That's it.
And that's, I think, the economy that you just mentioned. That's how I interpret it. And Stevie Wonder has a number of, I've heard him speak about this in interviews and live a number of times about his compositional strategy being like that there's no dearth of ideas, certainly for him, but even for anybody,
Yeah.
And he's always talking about how, like, jazz musicians have so many great ideas in their solos and stuff, but there's always a little bit of, like, undercurrent of, like, you don't have to use every one every time.
Every one every time. You
And
can
I
get
think
more from less.
more from less, and I think that's a maturity that comes in as an improviser and as a composer. And everybody, look, John and everybody else can think about compositions that you love. And you can also think about solos that you love, because it's just like we talking about. It's a similar thing. How are they constructed? Not necessarily like, okay, I love Brahms' Second Symphony, so I want to copy that style, and I want to have a wig like Brahms had. It's not about that. But think about, like, the actual musical structural things, the melodic structure, and, like, take those and, like, emulate those with your style.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's not stealing. That's borrowing.
Yeah.
That's taken.
Hey, every one of those guys stole every orchestration trick in the book from each other.
Exactly.
And then expounded on it, just like every jazz musician stole every piece of language from the generation before and expounded on.
Yeah.
It's part of the game. You have to do it. You have to go through it.
Don't reinvent the wheel. Just try to find the wheel and put it in a way that you can have, like, that one idea that you have. That's all you need.
Yeah.
And then place that into something that's already tried and true.
And then the challenging part about all of this, in my opinion, John, is it's more challenging than improvising to keep it human. Because we're pre-planning everything. You're pencil to paper, or you're on a computer where everything can get very
much like this.
to the next bar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to break out of that and have humanity in the music,
That's
musical moments that, whether you're writing for a jazz trio or you're writing for an orchestra, it can be very, very hard to sound like there's a human being behind this.
That's
what I
right.
mean? You gotta put those moments in there of unexpected events that happen, of whatever it is that make you a human musician, whatever that, or tension or release or whatever it is you feel like. I think
humanity.
Those things have, humanity.
I mean, I love. I hate that he stole this name from me. Jonathan Baptiste's band is called Stay Human.
Yeah.
And I came up with that first, and I hate that he stole that from me, and I allowed him to do that. No,
guy.
it's not true.
That's
It's not true, actually. I wish that I had come up with it, but that's I love that concept. That's such a cool thing.
Well, don't you, when you write, like, I'll be writing, especially, like, again, if I'm writing for a commission or whatever, and I'm like, everything is in a box right here, and now we go to this section, and I'm just like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to do something completely unexpected. I'm going to do a little moment here where it's like, oh yeah, there's like a human being with a soul and wit behind this paper.
Yes.
Because usually if there's classical musicians playing it, they have to be reminded of that too, or they'll just go into like auto mode. You know what I mean?
Yep. So let's just throw a few kind of real, like, functional little things people can practice on as far as composition, because we've really, I think, hit the big things, the big areas, the more spiritual, conceptual side But we said already, you have to compose, but that can be a thing that Ray Brown, I remember him telling me, it was just like he went through this period of writing a tune every day
Yeah.
It would just be like a blues or a rhythm. It was something. He wrote a tune a day for, I don't know if it was a month or 6 months or whatever, because he wanted to learn how to write. And so like that discipline of daily, things.
Now that I'm thinking about it, we do have an early You'll Hear It episode that we had animated about composition.
That's
Do you
right.
remember that? We had our
Yes.
former art intern, Clara.
That's right.
Do this whole animation. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
what
yeah.
she did.
It was beautiful what we said.
You can check it out. But I remember one of the things we talked about on that is you can compose every day. It doesn't have to be even a whole tune.
That's right.
Compose 4 bars of something.
Yeah, just give yourself the discipline of something you think you can keep up and do that every day. And that's a way to kind of force out some ideas. Yeah, you're not every day. You might 1 out of every 20 days hit upon something where you're like, wow, that's my humanity coming out. But that's great.
But you know what? If I say I'm going to compose 4 bars every day, you know what I'm not going to do?
What?
Actually compose just 4 bars.
Right.
I'm probably going to write a little more than that.
You overachiever, you.
No, because you just get into it,
Yeah.
But if you tell yourself, all I have to do is compose 4 bars.
Right. But the
some
thing
days
about,
you might, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. There's always the possibility for more, and that's as it should be. When you're feeling more inspired, that's when you're going to get your stuff. But what you don't want to do is the other side of like, oh, I want to wait until inspiration strikes and then I'll write.
You'll never write anything.
You'll never write anything. And a composer composes.
That's right.
As simple as that. An improviser improvises, and but then, so that's kind of just sort of a daily thing you can do. Other things are analyzing. And I mean, I assume the question, we were kind of talking about, because it's on our mind, because we both have orchestral commissions this week due on the same project.
Do we ever?
Instead, we're in here doing a podcast instead of writing. But I mean, when you're writing for jazz or whatever style you're writing for, like if you're familiar with it as a player, like you use that to your advantage. So like if you're a pianist, and start out writing for piano, and then start adding another thing, write for piano trio or whatever. But don't just do like, I'm going to write a blues and just give the bass player changes. Maybe write a few lines here and there for them, and not necessarily bass lines, just a few things for you to play together or whatever. Like stretch yourself a little bit with each composition you're doing, since you're writing every day. Don't just keep doing what you know. Stretch yourself with one kind of technical aspect of it.
Yeah, I always tell young jazz musicians who ask me about composition that the key to it as a jazz musician that we often get tagged as lazy sometimes because we don't show enough intent.
Yes.
We tend to write the changes out for the bass player and be like, I'm a composer.
Yeah.
Now
write me now play it and make me sound good on the gig.
If that's your ultimate vision for it, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's then you are a composer and that's your vision for it. But if you are hearing more and you're not doing it because you're being lazy, then that's not true to your vision. You know what I mean? Like, show your intent. Show people what you want this music to be.
And never feel like, okay, if you're getting a chance to play with some great players maybe that you're intimidated by, I used to be like afraid to write stuff for them because I was like, oh, they're going to be able to create something so much better. But then I started, I remember I wrote some bass like kind of lines that I wanted to play with the piano for Christian McBride. And at first I was like, oh, should I do this? I'm like, he's like, he could probably come up with something. But then I was like, he's such a pro.
Yeah.
What he did was he played what I wrote, but he somehow made it sound even better than I wrote it anyway. And he was totally cool with that.
That's what a great musician
He
is supposed
liked
to
it.
do.
Yeah, I mean, he
of
was kind of
course.
like, cool, I want to play. And then it's like finding in jazz, I think composing, it's always that balance for each player of like, you don't want to write swing feel for the drummer and then put tang, 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 the rhythm of it.
Yeah.
But give him a few hits here and there where he can link up with he or she and like do it in a way that's giving them freedom, but also giving them a little bit of constriction where it's needed. They actually like that.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, nailed another one. What can we say, man? We're on a roll here.
I hope this one
Give me
gets
some butter.
I hope this one gets animated.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you for the question, John. It's a great question, man. Obviously, we could talk about this for a while.
No, we can't. We got to go do our composition, our arranging gigs.
All right, well, you'll hear it.